Now. Perfect. Good morning, everybody from Agent Mechanics Coaching with Mike Bjorkman and whoever else is going to be watching this, actually. I appreciate Sean Purtill. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sean is one of the masters over at Ylopo, and he's kind of the guy that, I don't know, pretty much runs the show over there, if you ask me. Doesn't matter what I ask. Everybody goes, call Sean. Call Sean. He's the savior. So, so good morning. Thank you for being punctual and being on. And where are you coming to us from?
I am coming to you from Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Ah, Santa Fe. That's right. Oh, and I love the Santa Fe. What is that, the bridge from Lake Powell behind you?
No, that's Landscape Arch from Arches National Park, which is actually in Utah, but it's one of my favorite places. I'm actually in my guest house right now. It's nicer than my normal house.
At least you have good internet. So, all right, well, let's start to get rolling. For those of you wondering, Howard Tager is always late to anything. So he'll jump on here and we can start getting involved. So, Sean, like I told you, the people in this group know I only push a few things that they should buy, right? And Ylopo is clearly one of them. And I'm obsessed with Ylopo right now. And the biggest reason is because basically out of all the platforms that are available for us to drive traffic to us, Ylopo is the only one that's actually really caring about seller leads. And not only just running pay-per-click or Facebook ads, but actually building out things that are fantastic for seller leads. And our phones are blowing up and we're getting a tremendous amount of branding. And I'm just so excited. So it's impossible for me not to push it in my coaching group because let's face it, the group is basically designed to work smarter, not harder. I don't ever want to see somebody door knocking, doing open houses, knocking on NODs, only if they want to, right? But the majority of realtors don't want to chase open house signs in the wind and the rain and the heat. The majority of agents don't want to go door knocking and get bitten by dogs and harassed by mean people. So I'm all about digital marketing and I'm all about internet and social media. So I'm going to kind of let you talk about some of the things and then that'll give me some head juice to start asking some more questions and just kind of take us through the theory and some of the systems and what you guys are doing to help us, the agent out, which I appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. I know this is going to be put onto a podcast, but if it's okay, if I can pull up my screen. Is that cool?
No, they know right away to go, uh-oh, I better watch this on the YouTube channel.
Cool. So I'm going to start in kind of a strange place and show you guys something that I started working on this weekend. One of the reasons I got pulled into this call is Howard, I've been doing some work recently here in terms on the coaching side of things, and Howard has sort of kind of saw the first output of some of my coaching work. I kind of get a lot of freedom and carte blanche at Ylopo, where I kind of get sort of run my department like a dictator. And so a lot of the coaching I've done internally, Howard actually hasn't seen it. So he finally saw the stuff for the first time and I got it out to Barry and everything like that. Barry made this joke where he was like, I felt like I was in a university course. So I took a kind of a play on that and it was going to take it even further. So I'm actually working on this presentation right now, which is called, I'm going to record this into a video. And it's called The Physical Laws of Sales Growth. We're going to be looking at sales physics. Anybody who wants a copy of this when it's done, you can just email me at sean@ylopo.com and I'm happy to share it with you. But I'm like a weird, if I would be considered a coach at all, and I don't really consider myself a coach, I'm sort of a strange one because I am not about super granular detail. Like the joke I make is that there's just sort of sales coaching industrial complex out of there. And there's no, limit on the amount of information that you can get if you want to find out how to sell, how to grow your business, whether it's real estate or not, it sort of doesn't matter. There's just unbelievably large amounts of material. I think the hardest thing to do actually is to really, really simplify things down into absolute brass tacks concepts and principles. There is a point to me saying all this, by the way. Don't worry, I'll get to HomeBot.
Oh, I love it. There's nothing like being that confused so early in the morning on a Monday.
Well, let me confuse you even more with a funny word. It's a big fancy word, and it's called iatrogenesis, okay? What iatrogenesis basically means is basically harm through helping. It's a medical term where it's like you go to the doctor and you end up worse when you get out than when you went in. The joke I make about it, it's a little funny little anecdote I made up, which is like, I go to my doctor and I'm like, okay, why are you here? I'm like, well, I'm here because I'm feeling like crap. Okay, what's going on? Well, I'm not sleeping. maybe like 4 hours a night. He's like, oh, okay, all right, that's bad. We can put you on medication for that, right? What else is going on? I don't know. I'm depressed. Maybe it's my diet. I try to eat well, but I eat fast food too much. He's like, okay, well, we're definitely going to want to check your cholesterol. Maybe get you on some cholesterol meds there. Anything else? Yeah, I'm just really, really like, very tired all the time. Not sure what that is. He's like, okay, we can look at some other medications for that. And he goes through and I'm like, thanks, doc. And as I'm walking out, I say to myself, oh, good thing I didn't even have to tell him about the 2 bottles of whiskey I drink every night. So the point there is that if you're going to diagnose the problems of your business and you want to fix them, you really need to dig down deep to find out what the underlying problems actually are. Because if you start injecting things into the picture without knowing that, you can potentially do more harm than good. Another quick little funny story. I had a very close family friend. His name was Bob Nishimura. And both he and I had a close relationship because we both trade the US stock market. And sadly, he died of pancreatic cancer recently, but he was a brilliant guy, very, very smart, mathematically analytical on a level like you'd never believe. But he traded from moon cycles. He would literally trade the stock market based on the cycle of the moon. And he thought that that was what made him profitable, right? And I sort of looked at Bob and I was like, always just charmed by his theories. But I'm like, dude, the reason you're profitable is not because of moon cycles. It's because of the 90 other things that you're doing that you don't even realize, right? So when I talk about basic sales principles, and I'm going to introduce the first one as a segue into our talk about HomeBot, really, I think a lot of people intuitively understand these, and that's why they end up succeeding a lot, but they don't literally understand them in terms where they're actually going to be able to look very, very closely at their business from that lens and make meaningful, significant changes because of that. So the first principle, these are the 5 laws, in my opinion, of sales growth. The first principle is leverage. And when you leverage tools, you can leverage, you can either leverage humans, obviously, or machines. Now, Ylopo is obviously very much in the machine camp. And with the introduction of HomeBot, I can absolutely say that your business might have 99 problems, but like a toolkit is not one, because HomeBot is absolutely ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry if I can't help sounding salesy. I guess if you didn't.
No, dude, please. I want you to blow people's minds, because a lot of people don't ever have the opportunity to learn about this stuff or hear about this stuff. And people wonder, why is Mike Bjorkman selling hundreds of homes a year? Well, here's the secrets. So tell us about the secrets.
Yeah. So, when you're leveraging machines and you want to use those machines to create a dramatically larger amount of touch points between you and your client base, obviously, the more value those tools have, the better that's going to work. Now, on the HomeBot side of things, I know it works because I literally, actually, let me pull up. Here it is. I literally wanted it the moment I saw it. I'm in this space and I see these tools all the time. What was interesting, the moment I realized that this thing was going to be a real game changer was like every month I sit down and I actually calculate my wife and I, our net worth. And I was like, how do I value my home? I was like, oh, the absolute best tool to do that is freaking HomeBot. Like there's absolutely no more reliable tool out there for valuing it. So I literally use this estimated value in my own net worth. HomeBot gets their valuation data from Black Knight, who provides a lot of data for the appraisals industry. So it's, extremely reliable, extremely specific. It's way better than the Zestimate. And you also don't have to use the Zestimate and kind of go through Zillow in that case as a conduit. You have this on your own, basically. All right. The cool thing about it is it gives, in my opinion, it becomes like almost like checking your stock portfolio, but for your house, if you have one of these. So there's really no way that consumers aren't going to want it. The incredible thing is they actually buy mortgage data and incorporate that in experience. And the way that you use this mortgage data in terms of the conversations around equity and stuff is you actually involve your lender into this picture. They kind of buy their own entry with you into the HomeBot system. And, there's like a million different ways they slice up the, mortgage information they have to have a conversation around equity using this tool. Basically, right now, I expect, Mike, you guys have done like a million talks on like coronavirus and how to handle.
Oh, God.
Yeah. What's your biggest take right now from that angle, from like a, real estate lockdown perspective, relationship building and stuff?
Yeah. I'm building authentic relationships through technology. and it's been more fun than ever. You know, I've been using Zoom for years, all the way back to where it was like go to webinar. I've been listing homes and showing property and doing presentations. But now today with these types of companies that compile data, it's just mind blowing to the accuracy of what we can do. And
Yeah.
every day I'm more and more blown away on the things and how robust Ylopo is, and how we can incorporate all this data to where the consumer actually wants it, right? It was only a couple of years ago where we could just set somebody up on an MLS search, but that wasn't bonded, that wasn't dynamic. And now the sellers, you know, they want to go online to get estimates of value.
Yeah.
um, and Zillow is the enemy. I'll just say it. I hate Zillow more than anything. And
Yeah.
there you couldn't get more stupid, messed up data. It just sucks. So we've been, as an industry, we've been craving and just dying for more technology that is not only affordable but more accurate. And that's why I'm like, just I feel so blessed to be in this market right now, because we have things that the consumer actually will look at and use. So I'm just like, you know, again, that's why I'm obsessed with Ylopo right now and no other platform. So go on. Sorry, I took
Yeah.
too long.
No worries. I appreciate it. I think the fundamental challenge of seller lead gen and seller lead nurture has been like, there's not a lot of really persuasive value propositions that you can put out that are going to make consumers who don't know you want to talk about selling their home, you know? And so what happened in the industry over the years is like everything's just sort of whittled down into one value proposition, which is, what's my home worth? Like it's the only idea they had, right? We at Ylopo spent, I think, a year testing different methods of seller lead gen. One of them actually inadvertently turned out to be brilliant for the coronavirus time, which is this You Have Equity ad that we run across Facebook. I actually had a conversation with my lender. I called my lender, who, you know, gave me the loan on my house recently, just to pick his brain on this stuff. And it was a really interesting conversation. So like annually, depending on where sort of rates fluctuate, there's about 5 to 10 million refi opportunities a year in the United States, right? So I called him and I was like, dude, like if we made like a refi product, like you're going to want to like absolutely want it. Right. And he was like, yeah, interesting. I would want it. Right now is actually a weird time for that though. And I was like, well, why? Like it's freaking, everyone should be wanting to refi right now. He's like, well, the rates are so schizophrenic that it's actually pretty hard for me to sell that business right now. What's happening and what I'm doing actually is, instead of the refi talk, which I'm happy to have, and if I can get business there, great, is I'm having conversations about home equity from the angle of like, okay, you just lost your job. Let's consolidate your debt using your home equity, and let's, you know, get you an extended line of credit so you can bridge this difficult time, right? And he kind of called it the coronavirus package, right? And I was like, huh, interesting. So I get done with that conversation. Like 3 days later, G and I talk, and he's like, oh, well, you're not going to believe what you see then when you look at HomeBot, because it's going to completely change the game as far as that stuff is concerned. So I was like, well, I need to get this thing. So I actually had Livia, our client, send me this report on my own home. And yeah, it's totally crazy. Like it does bring the picture back, the value proposition into what's your home worth. But the two old approaches for that sort of were irritating to consumers who actually went through that, you know, that ad funnel, were either one, you had, again, as you said, you had to go through Zillow. You had no choice because this estimate was the best tool out there at that time, as much as it pains us to admit that. I think Zillow, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they like offer $1 million to the person who would build a better Zestimate or something like that?
There's all those weird stories out there.
Yeah, I think they did. So sadly, if no one won the $1 million, rather, I guess we had to all admit that it was probably the best tool. But it sucked, and it still sucks. Like, I actually think half the time it does more harm than good, right?
Oh, trust me, as a real estate agent, it does a lot of damage.
Yeah.
I can spend a half an hour to an hour unwinding their stupidness, like when I'm getting in front of a homeowner. I've recently missed opportunities. A past client the other day called me and said, I want to refi. And I said, I thought you were trying to sell. Well, I went on Zillow and it didn't say my house was worth it enough. And I said, what did it say? And she said it said 750, and her home was clearly worth like 950. And I'm like, what? I'm like, you can't look at Zillow. That's what I'm here for, you know? So
yeah.
It's funny to talk about lenders, because HomeBot is how I found HomeBot was through lenders. Lenders were physically signing myself up for it. And I was like, you know, they were using it as a tool so I would use them because they were offering it to use for my clients. And I'm like, I want this myself. I don't want it coming through my lender as much as I love my lenders, but you know, I'm like, so this is the timing for all this is just perfect. It really is.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there is an element to that thing you just pointed out where it's like, well, at least even if the Zillow estimates are like way off, at least you're now having a conversation with somebody about the fact that, you know, there's a possibility there, and maybe even introduced by the fact that it was wrong. But like the problem with Zillow was like sometimes it was just so flagrantly wrong. It was just like almost comical. Whereas like you're still going to have like HomeBot's not going to have perfect valuation data all the time, right? You're still going to have a little bit of fluctuation off of this, but who cares? Because if a consumer's reaching out to you to be like, I don't think this is accurate, you're just like, fantastic. Let's find out why. Let's dig in, right? So
it's a great opportunity to have a conversation with the homeowner that you otherwise would not have had, or your competition would have. So this is all really awesome, right? So what I want the students to understand is, how do we incorporate this in an arena or realm where we can share this with our clients and they could still be retargeted and still have a very user-friendly interactive interface. Like, I mean, that's where it gets so insane.
I'll definitely dig in there. I don't want to ignore Howard though. What's up, Howard?
Oh, hey, Howard. Are you finally here, buddy?
No, I've been here the whole time.
Yeah, right. For those of you watching, I know I saw when you came in.
You want me to tell the story that Sean told about the moon?
Yeah.
Guessing the talk about the moon, or how far back you want me to go, Mike?
That's fine. Good morning,
talk
Howard.
About the lack of the panelist invite that I did not get yesterday or today. If you want me to talk,
you got like 3 of them, bro.
Oh, I literally had to go back to the old original meeting to find the link to get me into this one.
You're so full. This is, see, you guys you could tell Howard and I
shake my head, baby.
This is how you know why Ylopo is so awesome, because I put up with your shit. So it's so good morning and thanks for joining us, Howard. Feel free to jump in anytime. We love you. And if you guys don't know Howard Tager, he's one of the owners of Ylopo. He's an industry leader and an absolute good friend of mine, and we appreciate you, Howard. So thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yeah, no, you guys made the point that I wanted to make. So you finally made the point I wanted to make, which is if your mindset, we always talk about mindset. If your mindset is this valuation needs to be exactly right. Well, if this valuation is exactly right, they don't need you.
Right.
Yeah. Correct.
So stop complaining about whether or not that valuation is exactly right. I mean, let's get with it, right? It is an automatic valuation model that is trying to be used for the whole country.
Yeah.
Is it going to know that that particular home is on a cul-de-sac? Is it going to know that people want to live in that particular home because of blah, 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 blah? No, that's your job.
Mm-hmm.
These things are all conversation starters. And now where we need to get with this right now is it's a tap on the shoulder. Every single time they engage with HomeBot, at least on our platform, it's a tap on the shoulder from my agent. This person just engaged in HomeBot. Right?
Yeah.
So you either have a great refi opportunity for your lender, right? So now your lender is really excited about co-marketing with you, right? They're getting a lot of value. Got to bring value to your partner, your advertising partner, or better yet, like they're actually interested in looking at the equity because they're potentially interested in selling, or you help them, lead them to the refinance solution, build trust, build the expert, and at some point you're still in first position to get the sale when they're ready to sell, because you're building a long-term relationship. And every single time,
authentically nurturing a seller relationship. That's all I want to do. Out of sight, out of mind. How many times have we lost listings because we weren't somehow keeping in touch with our clients? Now with this, our clients, they're like, dude, I love Mike Bjorkman. All he does is drop knowledge on me that's consistent, that's easy to read, easy to follow, and they're always right there. And a matter of fact, his assistant's always following up with me. So what more can I ask for? So when it comes time to sell,
here's the secret sauce, Mike. The levers that we have now are crazy. Let's say this person's only engaging with HomeBot, right? Could mean that they're more of a sort of refinance, home equity line of credit person.
Right.
What happens if we know, because we know now automatically, right? We tap the agent on the shoulder. What happens if we know they're not only engaging in HomeBot, but now they're searching. They're also searching for other homes. What does that tell you? They are screaming from the rooftop, right? This is going to be a listing.
Yeah.
We know it for sure.
And I would love to have the conversation with you for 30 seconds. Here's what I know. Back in the day, 50% of the people that we were getting leads from our buyer ad campaign, half of those people had to sell. What's funny is I've noticed a lot more lately that it's less. There's less people that need to sell. And I think that's because the person that's already settled in a home typically has a relationship with an agent that sold them the home or
Yeah.
some sort of referral base. So that's why it was so important for me for Ylopo to get this going, because now I can, like I said, communicate with thousands of sellers at one time. And we love buyer leads too, don't get me wrong, but there's nothing like having a seller clicking on their home update evaluation.
Look, statistically, roughly half, are going to live in an apartment. They're a renter, and roughly half are going to already live in a home, right? And if they already live in a home, then by far most of them are going to need to sell. That's the bottom line.
Yep.
We're just in a very strange time. We're in a very strange market. I think you've got a lot of potential sellers than buyers, right? They're going to sell, then they're going to buy. I think you have a lot of them looking at home prices right now, because I'm hearing all the, like everyone's talking about our home price is going to drop. Home price is going to drop. They're going to check. They're going to check all the time. Is their own home price dropping? Are other home prices dropping where they want to go? This is human nature. This is what's happening.
I would be terrified as a consumer to not know what my house is worth. I mean, I'm an agent, and I still always go, oh, I think my house is worth this or that. If the average person just doesn't have a way to always look at and I am positive that's what took Zillow through the ceiling, right? Because they had the one tool that nobody else had.
Yep.
So, all right, Sean, I'm sorry. Dive back in.
But Mike, I'll tell you, look, we did a massive webinar on this, and it just hit me during this call, something I didn't bring up on that call, which had like 1,050 people on it, which is you're going to get people like a lot sort of engaging with HomeBot, which is cool, right? So we're not going to literally like bother them every single time they're checking on the value of their home, right? But again, that secret sauce is when their home search activity, which we get signaled of, elevates, and they're checking the value of the home, like who's doing that? Nobody. Like that's crazy.
Exactly. That's the point I'm trying to get across. And one system and one platform can handle that for us. And that's why I love you. All right, let's go, Sean. What else you got?
Yeah, let me show you what we have. I want to show you what we were doing currently, like right before HomeBot came out, and I want to show you the way HomeBot has changed the complexion of a lot of those tools. The reason I brought up the probably too heady analogy between like leveraging humans and leveraging machines is because like the way that I look at and describe Ylopo is we're like a filter out between our clients and all of their opportunity out there. We generate that opportunity, but really more importantly is we need to engage that opportunity after it's generated, after it's in your database. And again, if you're doing that well, you want to offer extreme value to the client so that they come in, and then you as a human can then offer them more value, which is like exactly what Howard's talking about when he's like, oh, okay, well, they looked at the value of the home. HomeBot didn't know everything because it's a machine, because you're the freaking expert. So now you're going to broach the conversation about this is what it really looks like. This is the actual opportunity you have. These are the smart decisions you can make with this equity, or yada go all deep down into that. But now how do we do that? How do we message out there to that world? How do we bring them in? Let me show you some of the tools we were using right before we introduced HomeBot, and then how that looks now. So the first thing, obviously, Ylopo has an approach to email for you for both buyers and sellers. On the buyer side, we have like our standard listing alerts, and we have this bonded listing alert where we actually will notice that a consumer is interested in a specific home, and we'll update them on that home. Then we have the seller alerts that went out. And we were utilizing Altos research data to show market snapshots, market competitiveness, and a lot of good market data combined with like recently sold comps that we had arrayed down in the email. And we got those out there to everyone in your database who was a homeowner. And we had about a 25% open rate. And we were happy with that for a really long time because that's a really good number. And then here HomeBot comes along. We look at HomeBot and we say, hey, what's your open rate? We find out it's freaking 50%. So it's literally twice as good as our old approach from an email standpoint. 50% is absolutely game changing, okay? I really don't think you'll find another tool out there that's gonna give you that anywhere. And if you know one, please introduce them to us so we can do the same thing.
I'll keep an eye out, buddy.
Yeah. So, they see homes in the email that are impacting their value. These are recently sold comps. And if they click through that email, they would go into a seller experience that, again, had Altos research data. One of the unique things that we did on our seller experience was we actually pulled the buyers from their database that fit the bill for that home, so we can show the consumer, hey, we potentially already have buyers in our database who would be interested in your property. We would actually throw that client facing, literally, like what I mean by that is like on the front of the email. Usually that data can only be accessed on the back end of systems, not the front end of systems. So it's really, really cool, powerful stuff. We're actually incorporating that through more parts of our product. And then, inside of the home search experience, if they go down that, not the home search experience, but if they go down on that seller experience, they're going to see recently sold comps in there as well. One of the other unique things we do, which we're still going to be doing, in addition to HomeBot, which is kind of give you HomeBot on steroids, is we are, I think, the only company in the country that I'm aware of that sends a stream of recently sold comp properties into the Facebook environment so that we can remarket to your sellers that way, okay? So that's huge. So you have the email approach. Now you have the Facebook presence. You have the remarketing approach. We're going to obviously continue to expand our ad set to incorporate more HomeBot information into the remarketing target as well. But that's huge. So the way that we generated seller leads historically, and that year's worth of testing, what resulted from that was pretty much explicitly through social media. We would run, either a kind of a recently sold comp ad where it's like, here's what's sold in your neighborhood. They'd click on that, and they would be, the capture card would obviously pop up as lead ad technology right on Facebook. All their data is already pre-filled. They actually give us street address and zip code, answer a couple questions rather, hit submit, and they go down into that seller experience. So the reason why all this stuff was effective is it brought sold data obviously into the home search experience, which is going to enhance the experience for any sellers who are going to be searching on the platform. Leverage sold data for email, remarketing, new lead gen, all that stuff. Highlighted the most important seller ask, which is, how many buyers are looking for a similar property. And, we had Raya incorporated talking to sellers. So even our AI text bot was having conversations with sellers, all that stuff. So, how is this changing? I'm going to kind of move forward through some of these slides here. So first thing that's changing is we are going to we have rebuilt our listing alert approach to actually tease HomeBot up top. So the main draw of the email now is to get them into the HomeBot experience so that HomeBot does their thing with those sellers, and you get to take advantage of those 50% open rates now for everyone you get incorporated on that, okay? So you have this sort of, this incremental gain from your database that we're gonna pull out of actual sellers, and you're gonna realize and identify more home owners in your database because this is such a draw, okay? Because this is such freaking useful information. And the moment they see it, they're gonna be hooked, I guarantee it. Howard on the webinar made a great point. He's like, now you have like a bug in their home that, is like watching everything they're doing from a home ownership standpoint. And it's gonna be the place where they're always gonna go and engage because the content is so useful. So, they click through, they, obviously the first thing they're gonna see when they go into the HomeBot experience is the estimated value of their home. The HomeBot lets them know how much they've paid so far on their mortgage, which is crazy. What you do is you incorporate your lender into this experience, and they'll get legitimate refi opportunities thrown in front of them. And I can't tell you how significant that is, because I think you'll agree with me, Mike, like up till now, systems like ours, lenders participate, but it hasn't been like gangbusters great for them to date, right? Like they get some business on their desk from the leads that the realtor converts, and a lot of the times, like they're just kind of subsidizing the realtor for the relationship, with the realtor for outside of the, purview of Ylopo or whatever it is, sort of things. This is going to be legit for them. Like they will have a lot of conversations with refi opportunities because of this console. And all they have to pay to participate is a really de minimis spend. And if they convert like 1 to 2 deals here, it's going to pay them back for like 5 years worth of the system. So
yeah, I would agree, but I would say I would just sort of, up to now, we've had lenders on our system, lender partners who've crushed it.
Yeah.
Right. They've crushed it because they were just like really good at phone, email, text, phone, email, text, phone, email, text. And in many ways, their conversation was easier than the real estate agents because they were just sort of like, hey, if you want to get a buyer's advantage, if you want to be able to at some point quickly move on something you love, you got to get pre-qual. So getting pre-qual shouldn't be the hardest conversation in the world, right? Yep. Getting somebody to go see a home or go meet you at your office, right? They're a little tentative. That's a little bit more challenging. The issue has just been that the real estate, I'm going to be sort of positive here, Mike. that for as much as we want real estate agents to be better at lead follow-up, the typical, LOs really don't understand lead follow-up because they're just used to sort of either slamming refi deals or the agent just says, hey, I've got somebody going into escrow, get them a loan, right? Yeah. So it's been the rare lenders who are like, nope, we've got like inside sales agents. We know how to do this. We're going to pre-qual a zillion people. They're the best, partners. But Sean is correct. This takes it to the next level, really, because they're definitely going to get some refi, out of it for sure. And if they're sellers, well, next step is they're buyers too. So
yeah. And if a lender got this on their own, all they would really do is just plug in their past business contacts. But what they get when the partnership with the realtor is the sort of like continual incremental interest that comes in because we're sending all this information out on the realtor's behalf, right? That are bringing in new people, generating new leads, right? Bringing more people into the HomeBot experience. Like the lender wouldn't get that on their own. They would be static. They would just be working the database they already had through this. So it's just huge for them. It's just absolutely huge. And for, our realtors who are on the system, like it's huge for them because they're going to have a lot more lender participation, which again helps them cover the burden of the cost and so on and so forth. It lets you know how much you can save on your mortgage just by paying ahead. And this is a huge one. It lets you know if you bought another home, how much you can afford. And it gives you like a lot of different lenses to view that through. So it gives the realtor the ability to step into this picture and like really start a legit conversation. And that's, again, why I brought up that analogy of machines to humans. The machine brought the interest. Now it's time for you to step in and actually have the legitimate conversation. Like, what are you really trying to do? And that is what it does. A phrase I use a lot with my sales team and a lot in coaching our clients is warmth to open. So what I mean by that is when you buy leads online or when you have cold leads in your database, they are typically reluctant to hear you because they don't know who you are and they get besieged by salespeople all the time, right? So what Ylopo, what our systems do for you is by giving value to that consumer before you talk to them, it gives you the warmth to refer to that thing and open that conversation in a way where they're going to be now more willing to actually talk with you on real terms, right? Like the hardest, obviously, thing to break through in a cold sort of like sales relationship is that willingness to listen on the part of the consumer, right? So this stuff, since it's so dynamic and since it's so actually useful, these conversations are going to be a hell of a lot better. These are going to be really warm seller leads that come through this, okay? Much, much, much warmer than the old set you would have gotten from like really any other seller lead gen solution. The thing I liked actually the most is here I am sitting in my guest house and, we bought our home in September for like pretty much the explicit purpose of renting this place out on Airbnb. And then a coronavirus hit and completely wrecked our plans. But at least HomeBot teases me by letting me know how much I could be making if I can actually rent the damn thing. So it lets you know how much you can make renting your property on Airbnb. It's really, really cool.
That's
really
so
cool
insane,
data.
man. I just love that.
So insane. Yeah. So like, there's really just no better seller conversation starter than this thing. It's really next level. So right now, we've incorporated it in the ways that I've shown you. We're going to start running ads to drive people into the HomeBot seller experience so we can collect more people through the HomeBot funnel. We're actually going to start doing Google PPC for What's My Home Worth. Again, they click on that Google link and they're going to go into that landing page where they're going to be able to enter through the HomeBot funnel. Every time that happens, you're going to be notified. Yeah.
I'm going to forget this. So what you just said, remember how the other day we increased my ad spend a lot?
Yes.
I want all that to go to seller.
Okay. Yeah, you got it, man.
All right.
But you got to follow up with these alerts, Mike. You got to follow up, man.
I think my team's watching. You guys hear that? No, anything that's a seller alert, I will stay up till 3 a.m. replying back to those.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Sorry to bug you.
So yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to see this play out. We're still, it's HomeBot 1.0. So Ylopo HomeBot 1.0. So there are some things that, if you are a Ylopo client, it's going to continue to be enhanced. Like the next iteration, you'll have easier ways of accessing client HomeBot reports through our system. Right now, fundamentally, I would say if you are a client, just, enhance that seller lead budget. No doubt about that. Like, you're going to want to get that going now, because you're going to want to see what this can do. We actually don't even know yet, really. I mean, I have starry eyes about what's going to occur, but I think we're just going to learn over the coming months how kick-ass this thing actually is and the kind of results we see. And we're going to learn a lot from our clients as well about the kind of changes that they want to see made to the integration. Because like we still don't really know what parts of everything I just showed you is really going to make our clients' life, the easiest, the conversations that are going to be the best, and how much impact it's going to have on the lender's life. I mean, to me, like I said, man, like that joke I made, like, you might have 99 problems, but like the toolkit is not one with this. Okay. So if you're not succeeding with this, it's like, we need to have a talk, and that's really why I wanted to start off my talk today by talking about like those basic sales laws. I had a conversation with a client of ours. I won't, obviously say who it is, the other day. And like, G asked me to reach out to him because we were going to light up another license for him, and, so I called him and I'm like, hey man, you want to light up another license? Great. And he starts going into how his follow-up boss is really disorganized and he's not following up with his priority alerts as a result. And I'm like, okay, well, if your follow-up boss is disorganized and you don't feel like you can get to your priority alerts, which, Mike, priority lead alerts on our system are just as important as new leads. Like, they should be treated with the same amount of urgency, right? Yeah. I'm like, if you're not following up with the stuff we're giving you now and you're still doing well, what do you need another license for? He's like, well, I talked to someone and they told me I needed to get on this other coach's drip campaigns on a different CRM. And I'm like, dude, like, let's fix the whole like priority lead alert thing first, right? And so for your team, Mike, this is the gold right here, okay?
Right, no doubt. I mean,
we're going out there and getting it. HomeBot's going to get it for you. It's going to get it for you in a way that I'm telling you, you're not going to find elsewhere. That kind of machine automation on that level. Right. Now, y'all humans need to get up on it and get the job done. Yeah. As I tell my team in the morning, get after it. That's
we've just never had this opportunity before to connect a seller tool like this to our database. Like, I mean, I used to back 5 or 6 years ago. There's this weird IDX thing that was similar to Zillow, and I'd pay $150 a month to put it on the front of my website. But it was more damaging than good too, So, yeah. I just want everybody that's watching and listening to understand the power of what we're talking about right now. And if you're a newer agent or if you're not familiar with the way Ylopo works, obviously Sean can help you out with that. But just know that this is our very first time to actually aggressively, go after our past clients and future clients, actually, and just sellers in general. And if you've all heard the cliche thing, you got to list to last, and that's true. I mean, over the weekend, I have 3 listings getting multiple offers on them. Agents are freaking out. I'm working with the buyer, freaking out, trying to get this other house. And I'm like, geez, it's just so much better to be the listing agent, man. I'm like, God, I just want agents to realize that, it's like so amazing. So, all right, cool. So how do we, when we incorporate HomeBot into our current database, how does that, no, Susan, how does that get into, how do you get these clients to actually be hooked up with HomeBot? Do they get an email? Do you have to manually put them in?
Yeah, you would import. So here's the thing. You can't put circle prospecting stuff in here. Okay. So, your database, if you want to bring them into the HomeBot universe, these need to be folks that have opted into communication for you, because if you bring circle prospecting stuff into this picture, you run the risk of getting spam classified through your email at such a rate that they'll actually end up blocking your domain. Right. So this is not like a magic bullet where it's like, I'm going to bring in 800,000 leads and hit the button and now I'm going to be showered with money. It's, you want to bring in those legit homeowners who have opt-in from your company. Either they've done business with you in the past, or they're leads you actually bought through all the opt-in clauses and everything. You have the right to email them and all that stuff. But yeah, we'll facilitate the import for you. Bring them in. First 500 leads you bring in are free. It's like $25 for every additional 500 a month that you want to bring in after that. They'll be introduced to the system in multiple ways, email, ad, and so on, like really pretty much all the same ways that we actually do for clients as we generate them as well. The report will go out to them I mean, if you already have their home address, it'll just be sent to them automatically, and they're going to be able to open it up via email. They're already going to be in the HomeBot experience. If you don't have their home address, they're going to need to register through the HomeBot experience in order to get access by putting in their information. And then you get their home address. Now you have more information than you had before, you know?
That's a push to them, right? Just a push email or text to them.
Right.
Hey, we now have this feature.
Hey, check this out. You know, put your information in, yada, yada, all that stuff. The other cool thing we're doing, and we're going to do this on the Google PPC side too, because we're going to be launching, you know, what we call Google 2.0 pretty soon, is we're doing partial lead submissions. So we're doing, you know, first you put your phone number in, and then you put your email and your name in, because we found that about 70% of the time we can get phone numbers even if we don't get email and name information. And that the phone number is the best thing to have because it allows us to find you on Facebook, right? And it also allows Raya to communicate with them via text, right? So, and what it does is it's going to dramatically lower the costs of acquisition for those leads, you know? And it's like, you know, a lot of, you know, agents kind of misinterpret lead quality in a lot of ways, in my opinion. For me, in systems like this, lead quality is like honestly a function of cost per lead. Like you want it as low as humanly possible because, you know, if God forbid, you're only converting at 1% for whatever reason, but it only costs you like $300 to get 100 leads. Like, come on, like you take that all day, right? Like you take one transaction for $300 all day, you know, any day of the week. So, that partially missed that.
I want to point out for the listeners that have never heard of Raya before, what Raya is AI, artificial intelligence. And one of the other reasons I love Ylopo so much, you guys, is because when you have like 24,000 leads in a database like us, and we don't have enough manpower, that's a hint that we're hiring for my team actually, but we don't have enough manpower to go through 20 something thousand leads. So the reality is once Raya finds a active buyer or seller lead, Raya will interact with that person via text and say, hey, Mike, my name's Raya, and I see you looked at that home 3 times. Do you want to see it? Yeah. And then the agent can jump in as they feel it's appropriate to jump in and stop that conversation and jump in and be a human. But what Raya actually does is brings all the cream to the top. So if you have 1,000 leads in there and 30 of them are ready to buy, Raya finds those for you. Because let's be honest, realtors aren't going to sit around all day and just start calling through a database. So it's a very, very unique and interesting tool that you want to make sure you get.
If I can bring up my irritatingly heady card once again.
No problem.
You know, like when you're leveraging technology to text your database the way you just talked about, you know, it's a machine, right? And machines they're computational, they're logic driven, they're very literal, right? They follow logic. So like the response is going to be literally the response that's programmed into the system, right? Whereas when humans text, they're social, they're critical thinkers, they're very intuitive, right? What we've done with Raya is try to blend these two, AKA artificial intelligence, right? So that when you have this machine that can literally send 1,000 texts per minute, which humans can't do, you know, it also has that social, critical thinking, intuitive ability where it can actually converse with the lead back and forth and even, you know, book an appointment for you. It's pretty insane. So, you know, we don't have a bunch of time to completely go into Raya here, but like for me, Mike, you know, like my challenge, again, because I'm not in real estate, I sell real estate technology, right? And my challenge when I sign my clients in the early days when Howard and I, you know, were first selling the first, you know, couple hundred clients and stuff was, look, the machine's going to do this for you. The system's going to do this for you. Our lead gen's going to do this for you. But at the end of the day, the lead is not going to jump off the table and bite you in the face. You have to do the follow-up work, right? So you got to push those listings. You got to follow those priority alerts. You have to do all the things that we recommend. And if you do not do those things, success is going to be harder, right? With Raya, when it was introduced, it was like a total game changer because now it's like, honestly, you kind of could just let Raya do the work and just take the Raya notifications. Like it's freaking insane.
I know many people that do, trust me.
Yes, yeah. It's like, so you guys are spoiled now, man. Like I don't even have Raya for my department because it's too complicated to build. We spent so much time building it.
This is going to be my 30th year in real estate. And when I got into real estate, the biggest thing that was going was a fax machine and we didn't have internet. So it's like, to me, we're living in heaven right now. Like,
yeah.
What the heck did I do
Yeah, dude, it's
that
probably
make
it has
it
to look
through?
so different than your first day did
Yeah,
30 years ago.
so
Like,
I guess that's why I appreciate so much this more than most people. Everybody's technology. I'm like, oh, you have no idea how much easier real estate is with it, because I remember those days of getting bit by dogs door knocking, and now I sit in air conditioning, in flip flops and just bang out houses left and right. So it's a beautiful thing. Rita asked the question, hey, Mike, is there a discount for EXP agents? Ylopo, one of the good things, Rita, about Ylopo is we're all treated equally. We all pay the same, just like we do at EXP. And there is no free trial because it's an incredible setup and a
yeah, it's a complicated
tremendous
setup.
amount of work to set you up with this. So it's not the least expensive of investments, but it's probably the best one you can make.
But anybody who wants to take a look, just contact me directly. I do have a deal I will extend you right now. I do. So just reach out, Sean@ylopo.com. I'd love to show you the system. I didn't intend to make this a sales pitch. I really just want to talk about these things because they excite me. But
well, let's talk about this discount since you just blasted it out on Facebook. I didn't even heard of it.
yeah, right now, if you want to take a look, it's the best time because we're pretty adamant about our setup fees because of what you just said, Mike, which is it's a very complicated setup. And it's precisely why we can't give a trial because it's like, seriously, we're going to go through a month setup for you to have it for a month. And then you're going to say, no, like that doesn't make any sense, right? So right now, we are extending effectively a waive of our setup fee. And what we ask of you instead is just a $500 deposit. And we'll give it back to you on the day you go live. So right now you don't have to really pay a setup fee.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So if you guys are listening to that, man, that's pretty special. I've never heard of that.
Stupidly generous. When
I
Howard said
remember
that,
Howard and I were talking about something like that in the beginning of the Corona thing, but I didn't know it was actually launched. So
yep, it is launched.
Crazy.
Happy
All
to
right, Howard or Sean, do you guys want to add anything in here? I think we gave everybody good taste and a good bit of information, to go off of. Is there anything else you want to throw out there?
Again, it's we're all talking in the old school, percentage of closed of new leads. Like this is the game's changed. Like this is all about build your database.
Yep.
Build your database as big as possible. That's what it's about. It's not about like, am I getting 1.5%, 2% of like these leads, right? This is like, if you've got eventually a 50,000 person database or 100,000 person database, guess what? They're always going to get touched and use HomeBot. They're always going to get touched and use the home search stuff. Like you've forever got these plants with these people now for a lifetime. When they're not interested in buying or selling, you're not really going to hear from them that much. But if they're in your database and at some point they're really interested in buying, they're going to start searching a lot. If they're really interested in selling or refinancing, they're going to engage with HomeBot a lot. So basically, you may want to write this down. You want to plant your bug, your NORAD early warning system. You want to plant that, like why plant that in 5,000 homes and you can plant that in 50,000 homes or eventually plant that in 100,000 homes? Because then, do the math. That's what we did. That's what we did last webinar. Do the math on just closing 1/3 of 1% of your database. That's it. Just close 1/3 of 1% monthly on your database. Run that at 100,000 leads in your database, and that's it. You've got a 7-figure income producing machine. This is just another tool. Raya, priority alerts, the dynamic remarketing, HomeBot. This is a crazy suite of tools so that you don't have to focus on the new leads. Let the new leads nurture. Let Raya communicate with them. Let them incubate over time. What you're doing is you're fishing them out of the water before they ever get to Zillow and Realtor.com and Redfin and all these other places. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
I got them. They're in my fishbowl. Okay, I'm not going to bother them too much right now if they're not really engaging. But when they do, I will know it and no one else will. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
And I've said this on every single call that we've had you guys on the Agents Mechanics course. I think this is our week 14 that I've been doing this. And what I did at the beginning of this Corona thing, and I remember Howard and I had this conversation, I canceled every credit card and debit card that I owned, my entire staff, my family, everything. And I went through and I said, I'm going to not allow any more charges to go through unless they're charges that I actually need. And it turned out it was just shy of $4,000 a month we found on $99 a month subscriptions to just crap that we didn't need.
Yep.
And I told you guys what I'm going to do is take that, and that's what I'm going to increase my ad spend by. And that's the conversation we had the other day. So it's this is the time, you guys, we're going to be so busy selling homes. But what we can't do is stop growing our database, because Howard said that's the key to all the top producing teams in the nation know. The more people that are in my database with Raya and other tools working on them, the better, because we're busy working with people that call and say, I want to buy and sell now, but somebody has to be filling up our pipeline in the background, building our database bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's what's, and I probably wouldn't have agreed with a whole lot of that until recently with technology, with AI, right? Because now AI can deal with hundreds of thousands of people in our database and bring them to the top to us and say, here, Mike, here's a silver platter with the new buyer or seller on it today. And we couldn't do that before. So I was exhausted trying to build a database and trying to keep up with the darn thing, because it didn't matter how many people you had if you didn't have the manpower to keep it going. Now it's crazy. I remember when AI first came out, oh, that's so stupid. Now I'm like, whoa, I'm like, what the heck do we do without that? So anyway, so that's my 2 cents for just kind of wrap up. What do you,
the way, my last point I'd like to make on that is, like, the way I look at in any relationship-based sales domain, which if real estate's not that, I don't know what it is, right? There is, on the progression to success, this tipping point where what's in the database and living off of what's bubbling up starts to outstrip what's coming in every month, and you're less reliant on the sort, grab and close sort of funnel, right? You want to get there as quickly as humanly possible. If you're not there yet, you want to get to that world as fast, as rapidly as possible, because life is much, much better there. It's also a lot less fragile to change and impacts like coronavirus and all that crap. Ylopo really is a brilliant mechanism to get you there, because we are about volume, low cost lead gen, tons of nurture, Raya, all this stuff. So absolutely, that's my final thought.
Cool, man. I sure appreciate you, Sean. I know you have a lot of things to do on a Monday morning, and I appreciate you spending the time.
We're about to go into a meeting, Howard and I.
Oh, that's right, at 11 o'clock is your weekly meeting, huh? Okay.
Hey, guys. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you.
Howard. Love you guys. Thank you for everything. If you guys want to talk about the monthly fees, I see a bunch of questions here about that. Give Sean a call, give me a call, I'll give you Sean's number, whatever. And basically, you just need to know there's a few different levels, different prices, and then your ad spend depends on that. But it's definitely—
we'll cover it all with you, happily.
That's something we can't go into over here right now. It'll take too long. But all right, guys, you go have a kick booty week. And if you need anything from me, you call me, okay?
You too, Mike. Appreciate it, man.
All right, take care, everybody. Be good.
Bye.